Hello and welcome to episode 42 of Intruder Theatre in the Making podcast. I'm your host, Remi Rachuba, and thank you so much for tuning in. It's been quite some time since I recorded a podcast episode. I needed to look it up. The last podcast episode I recorded was in December of last year, released in January of this year. So it's been 8 months. Last 7 months been crazy, very intense. So I'm really sorry for not releasing any podcast episodes. It's been, a lot's been going on. Preparation for the Scottish tour, then coming back to live, other things, and it's been only a couple of weeks ago that I started thinking, okay, well, I need to record a podcast episode and finish what I was talking about before. So hopefully from now on I can record more regularly. So in the last two episodes, I focused on adapting my play into a screenplay, hence they were called Intruder Screenplay in the Making, Part 1, Part 2, and today is Part 3. There will be no more parts, so I will talk about 2024 and what happened last year with the screenplay. Coming back to part 2, you may remember, may not remember, I talked about arranging a call with Netflix. Now, how that came about, what I did, I'm not going to talk about it now. It's in episode 41. I'm literally now jumping into that call that I had with Mike from Netflix, who is Vice President for Content. And that Google Meet, because we had a Google Meet, took place in January 24. Now, it was a very short call, and short, I mean 25 minutes. I was very grateful that Mike had time to do it with me. And as always with any project, Mike asked me what the project was. So I told him what the play, what this series is all about. And it's important to know, someone might have mentioned it already, when you go for conversations or chats or calls with people to talk about any project, not only film, play, anything, I think it's always important to have that idea or tagline remembered, so you just deliver it rather than mumble, stumble, and you don't know what to say. So I always have it prepared before the meeting, because I thought, this is what I'm going to be asked. And then maybe I'm not going to talk about what happened, throughout the whole call, but about a couple of things that I remember. Well, one of the things was Mike asked me about the project, and then we talked about Polish film production companies, because this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have the call, just to explore the market. It's in Poland, it looks a little bit different than here in the UK. In the UK, the market is you have a writing agent, and then the writing agent, I think, pitches to the production company the idea. This is what I think happens. I don't have a writing agent. So I'm just thinking how it all works. In Poland, it looks a little bit different. As far as I know, there are not many writing agents. I think production companies just liaise directly with streamers, and I gather film production companies have their own writers. So I just wanted to explore that option, writing agents, how it works. And when we were exploring that, Mike asked me whether I had a Polish version of the script or just English version. And at that time, I had an English version of the script. And I was thinking prior to the call that if I want to go to Polish production companies, it would be good to have Polish script. And Mike told me that, yes, that would be sensible to have. He also told me that, it's the idea for example, a Polish story told in English was slightly off, wasn't right. He wasn't sure whether it was right for Netflix. But this is what I remember, but he said, yeah, if it's a Polish story, then maybe it would be good to go to Polish production companies, because English-Polish, it just doesn't, it just didn't gel, or didn't really, and I agreed with him. I thought, if it's a Polish story, go to Polish production company. It's a Polish script, rather than Polish script, go to an English film production company. So that was one of the takeaways of the call, to have a script translated into Polish. This is what I had been thinking about before. And then another takeaway was, I asked Mike whether he could recommend some Polish production companies that they work with, and Mike was just a little bit, I don't really know, and then I just said, you can give me one. And it's kind of interesting because sometimes, you can be like someone actually said that to me at some point in the past. They said, sometimes, not before that call, just recently, and I thought it's a great way of maybe using that metaphor, that sometimes we can be like little children. Sometimes people have some sweets or candy, and they're like, no more sweets, and you can be like, you can give me one, and then and they can give you candy or sweet or something, and I thought it was great. I didn't know it back then in 2024, but this is what I did. I said to Mike, okay, you can give me at least one or something like that. And Mike very generously gave me 4 production companies, and I wrote them down. And then I wanted to contact them regarding my script. And that was really the call with Netflix. As I mentioned before, I think in the previous episode, it wasn't a call to have the series commissioned. It was just mainly about the Polish film market and how Polish film production companies get their series on Netflix. Now, what happened after that? So the call was in January. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was, of course, to have the script translated into Polish. Now, last year, I was coming back to the Royal Opera House to work on another revival of Lucia de Lammermoor, an opera that I had been working on before. Now, I think the rehearsals were starting, I think, end of February or maybe beginning of March. So I knew that I really wanted to have the Polish version of the script ready by the time we start rehearsals. I always give myself or set myself some internal deadlines that I need to do certain thing by a specific point in time, and the start of rehearsals for Lucia was that time, because then I knew that when I was going into rehearsals, I wouldn't have time, I would be tired. So I gave myself a month and a half to come up with the Polish version, literally translate the English script into Polish. And I used Celts, that screenwriting software for it. And that's what happened. And when we started rehearsals for Lucia, I had everything set and ready to be sent. Then in April, I did a little bit of tweaking on the script, maybe just the very beginning, but not a lot. And then, because, we were rehearsing March, kind of April, and then between mid-April, I think, towards the end of August, what I did was I got in contact with the, 4 production companies in Poland that Mike recommended. And I think I initially gave them a call, or I emailed them first, and I said that the company was recommended to me by Mike. And I think it's always good to potentially to reference someone, so the company knows, so he is, we know what he's talking about. This is also how the Netflix call came about. As I said, I talk more about it in episode 41. So I started emailing the Polish film production companies. Then, of course, I never got any emails back, and then I would follow it up with a call a couple of weeks later. Of course, I was busy on the production, so I was not available all the time. And then when I phoned the companies, some of them would say they never got that email, or they got an email but they never got the script, or some of them said that they got the email and the attachment, and they forwarded to the CEO or the company manager. And that was, as I said, it took mid-April till the end of August. You may be wondering, wow, that's quite some time. Yes, because, first of all, I wanted to give time to people. I'm not going to be calling people the next day or the next week, because people are very, very busy. So I gave them a month. Of course, I went on holiday, so I came back July, and then I re-emailed or called, and then, as I said, people said, they've never received it. Or then I would be told that, people are on holiday, so of course nobody's going to read your script. Get in touch in August. So this is really what happened. Also, around that time, I maybe emailed a couple of writing agents here in the UK, and I think a couple of production companies. I didn't hear from any film production companies here in London. I think I emailed a couple of ones in Scotland. No news. Some writing agents emailed me back. I think someone read the script, but they said it wasn't for them. So that's really what it was between mid-April, end of August, sending, not hearing back, phoning companies. Actually, when I phoned the companies, film production companies in Poland, the women that picked up that phone, they knew who I was. They felt sorry for me that nobody replied to my emails, but they said they really couldn't do much. There was only one production company in Poland, Opus Film. I think the managing director, who I had been in touch with before, he emailed me back. He was very nice to me. He had a look at the script. He did mention that he wasn't really sure whether the script was for them. He wasn't sure about that, but he also mentioned that they were busy on another production. So yeah, but it was great that he got in touch, because I noticed that in Poland, not a lot of people email back. I don't know. It was, and yeah, until today, yeah, it's a very rare thing to get an email from someone in Poland. Over here in the UK, that doesn't happen as much. You get emails from people if I email people directly. I'm just going to talk about film production companies in the UK later on, because that's interesting what's happening here. But back in last year, that's what was going on. And then an interesting thing happened in September. So as you might remember, in part 1 and part 2 of this mini series, Intruder Screenplay in the Making, I'd been trying to get in touch with Richard Gadd, the creator of Baby Reindeer. I explained in the previous podcast episode why I wanted to get in touch with him, and then it turned out that we were part of the same animation, a band named Wojtek, and in September of 24 there was another screening of the film here in London. Now, the animation had premiered in Edinburgh in 2023, but Richard, because he had been working on Baby Reindeer at that time, he was never present, and he was not present at any of the screenings. So there was a screening of the animation here in London, in South Kensington, at the Polish Heart Club one Sunday, and the director asked me if I would be happy to attend, and I said, of course, always, to support the project, because I love the project. So I was to attend it. And I think the thing is, what happened was, I think they were having dinner before the screening, but I wasn't invited for dinner. There was some other people attending dinner. I was just to go to the screening. But a couple of days before the screening, the director Ian texted me, and then we had a phone call and said, "Oh, Remi, someone can't attend the dinner. Would be delighted if you would be free, and would you come?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" And then after the phone call, I asked Ian, whether who is going to be attending the screening, because normally it's just not many people. And then Ian said there will be James, one of the other voices who I became very good friends with throughout this whole process, and there will be Richard. And I really couldn't believe it, because it was only a week before that Richard had won so many Emmys, and deservedly so, for Baby Reindeer. And I watched him on YouTube, and then just the thought of meeting him the next day was just impossible. So, and also I remembered what I'd been told before, that when I was trying to get hold of Richard via his theatre producer, I was told that, Richard wouldn't have time. something along these lines. So I went into the screening bearing all of that in mind. Yes, Richard did come. He was sitting next to me during the screening where there was a lady and then Richard. And then, of course, when the screening finished, there were so many people around him. And I was just like, I don't know, I'm not really gonna go. It's quite embarrassing to go and ask for anything. And at some point the director said, okay guys, let's go and take like a photo, all the team and the crew. And there was not many of us. It was Ian the director, Ian the producer, James, Richard and me, because apparently Richard hadn't seen the film. So then we took a photo, and then when it was done, another lady from the Polish club jumped and said, oh, can I have a photo with Richard? And I took that photo, and it was only then when I was able to speak to Richard, and I said, hello, my name's Remi, and I've been trying to get hold of you, and I emailed this and that, and they told me that you don't have time, and I'm writing a series, screenplay based on my play. And Richard very kindly said to me, you know what, I don't remember getting that email. And at that moment, all my concerns and everything that I had, everything that had been simmering in my head just left in my head. It was like, bye-bye, take it easy. And I was like, wow, great. And so I don't have to worry about anything. And then we had a very short chat. We exchanged Instagram names, and we followed each other on Instagram, and I just said that I'd be very, very grateful if we could have a call, a Zoom, if Richard could help me understand how film production works, how you take a play into a series. And we had been talking on Instagram, swapping messages. Then of course I got busy because I went to Lithuania. Then it was Christmas. We were chatting then of course I was preparing for the tour, and Richard was preparing for his new series that he was shooting, or he was shooting, or was about to shoot in Glasgow in February. So it was quite a busy time. Then the tour, and now coming back, and I think he literally just finished shooting his new series couple of weeks ago. So we had been in touch, maybe not in the last couple of weeks, but we have been chatting about that Zoom, that call that we could potentially have. It's not happened, but hopefully it will at some point, and I would be very, very grateful for any tips, advice on how where do you even start with that. So that's what happened, and I'm glad that finally I can talk about that subplot of Richard Gadd that I started in part 1 of this mini series about the screenplay. And it's kind of interesting that that it did happen. I mean, I had been wanting it for such a long time, and all of a sudden it was possible. I really didn't think I would meet Richard, because Richard was not present at the premiere. He was not present at any of the screenings, and all of a sudden, here we go. We met. I still can't believe it, really. Quite a lot of things I can't believe, as I very often say, the universe has a different plan for us. I don't know. When you try to make things happen, they will happen, but at the time that is right. So that's the subplot and the end of story. Well, kind of end of story, because hopefully I'll have a call with Richard, so maybe I can briefly tell you how that went. But let's see what happens. And that was in September 24, and then September to the end of August, what I did, I focused more on, again, Polish film production companies or Polish directors. I went to Polish independent producers. It's interesting because there would be, for example, emails. I would email a director who would be managing director of a film production company. They would email me back. They would ask me for more information, like episode description. A lady from the development department would get in touch as well, I gather, because they would be talking there, requesting similar information. So I would send them the script in Polish. I would send them like a little bit of a synopsis of each episode, and then silence. That's it. I would follow it up with emails, another email, nothing. Until today, I haven't had any emails from them. I find it rude. Really, for me, it's very rude. Because I can understand someone can say, okay, this is not for me, and we know where we are. But then reading the script, asking for materials, and then someone else gets in touch from the company and nothing. For me, it's mind-boggling rude. This is it. And I emailed more independent producers in Poland, but again, no contact. Someone would email me back and someone would request a one-pager. One-pager is, as I kind of heard of it before. I didn't have it because I write the script rather than have a one-pager. One-pager is like a document, as it states, on one page, you put all the info about the project, the series, I guess, the feature film, what's it about, the themes. Yeah, so I had to work on it as well because one of the producers in Poland requested it. She would say, I don't want to read the script, although it's short. I just want to see a one-pager. And then, of course, I needed to learn how to do it, the research, and I have it in Polish and in English. And then she would email and say, I'm only interested in Polish stories. That's it. At least I got a reply from her, and it was quite swift. But as I said, mostly 98% no contact at all. I also sent it to some Polish directors, high profile. One of them responded, and even recently they emailed me back and said to me, you know what, I haven't forgotten your script, I will let you know, which is great. I am very respectful of that. I'm very grateful that they have time to read it and to even respond. But to have a response is amazing. Even saying no, it's not for me. But no response, you don't know. But it's very often, I don't know. I found it in Poland. People don't reply to emails. I'm sorry. That's what I found. That's my experience. It looks different here in the UK. Maybe with film production companies, it varies. But when I go directly to people normally reply. So then, end of October, that's really it as far as the script. I didn't really get much from Poland as far as film production companies, independent producers, some emailing back and forth, but it ended up with no emails. And then I was preparing to go to Lithuania for the theatre festival, so of course I needed to stop emailing people because I needed to go back into rehearsals. So by the end of 2024, as I said, I had Polish and English versions of the pilot. I had been in touch with Polish production companies. One Polish director was reading it. At least they said that they would. And as I said, recently they emailed me back that they will let me know what they think. But most of the time it was no contact. Film production companies didn't get in touch, or the ones that I did get in touch, they would just say to me, not interested. This is not for us. So, yeah. And that was the end of 2024. I only came back to the Screenplay a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, because as I said, I had a tour and then other things. So it was only mid-July when I thought, okay, let me email some people and just send a gentle reminder. So of course we know that a Polish director was reading it. I went back to another Polish director who asked to be sent the script again. So there was 2 Polish directors reading it. But this time around, I started contacting UK film production companies, and not necessarily agents, because as I said, I've been in touch with a couple of writing agents. Last year, I think one said, as I said, that it wasn't for him. I was in touch with another one from big talent agency here, independent. They found the script very interesting, intriguing, but it wasn't for them. Someone read it, another agent read it in March this year, but they also found it very interesting, intriguing, but it wasn't for them. I've not been focusing on writing agents. In July this year, I've been focusing on film production companies. Now, briefly, as some of you may know, some of you may know, maybe people that write screenplays, most companies have info on the websites saying no unsolicited material unless you're represented by an agent or la 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 la. And now, of course, however, my experience regarding this has been varied. So what I've been doing over the last 2 weeks, I prepared an email, and I've been emailing film production companies of a lot of series that I like, or series that I've seen or I've heard of, and I've been using IMDb Pro and I've been looking at the details over their websites, and people who run the companies, who deal with development, who are script editors for these companies, and I've been emailing them. And I've sent, I think, maybe the last, a week and a half, 70, 80 emails. I normally write emails if I can, to people directly. If I don't know their email, I try to look at the pattern of what their email can be, or I Google it and it would tell me. And actually, when you do some research, you can find the pattern of an email to a particular person in the company, whether it's, for example, john.smith at, or John Smith, or J Smith, or JS, you can find it out. And I've been sending emails to people directly, asking them telling them about the project and whether they would be interested in reading one pager or a script. So it's been ongoing for the last week and a half. So although it says on the website that they don't accept unsolicited material, there would be one company that would say to me, "Hello, Remi, I'm sorry, we don't accept your email has been deleted because it's our policy." Fine. One company, someone got back to me and said that they would be interested in reading my one-pager, because actually on the website it says that they would be, they accept one-pagers. So that's handy. I have it ready. I sent it. And another company, one person that I emailed, they forwarded my email to a script editor at that company, and that script editor asked me to send them their script. And it's a company that actually have made TV series based on a play. I'm not going to talk which company it is, but I am very, very grateful to the person who wanted the script, and they would say they would get back to me. And also, I am very grateful, and I sent an email thanking that person who forwarded that email to that script editor. So it's very early stages. Don't believe everything that a website says. Write to people. Some will say this, some will say something else, some will say read it or send it. Today I even sent more details, or send more emails. So I will see what happens in the next couple of weeks. If I don't hear from people, I will potentially send a follow-up, because from my experience, people reply more to follow-ups, and very often my email ends up in spam. So this is it. So hopefully at some point I will let you know what happens and what happened, if anything happened out of these emails. So this is the end of part 3, Screenplay. Intruder, Screenplay in the making. Thank you so much for bearing with me, and once again I'm sorry that it took such a long time to record that podcast episode. Now in the next podcast episode I'm going to focus on my performances in Vilnius in Lithuania. That was last year in the autumn, and then in the next episode, I think episode after that, I will be talking about the Scottish tour and how it went, because that's quite a lot to talk about. So that's quite a lot to look forward to. But when that comes up, we shall see. Hopefully, you wouldn't have to wait for another 6 months for that. But that's all for now. And I'm also quite happy that I managed to record that episode at one go without many slips of tongues. Yes, yeah. If anything, I'm sorry about that. So until next, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll speak to you next. Bye for now.